The NFL schedule release has come and gone. It's now our turn as NFL gamblers to take advantage of the futures betting market. We preview win totals, division winners, awards, and much more tonight on the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
Cause I've been in tune, out of touch, coming off the bench, trying to shake the funk, check your stat line, see who's up, that over under hit too clutch.
And I'm trying to avoid getting carried away with the jet sweep, sleeping on a trick play, predicting all of my moves like they seen every play. And so I'm running it back, head down, get out of my way. And it's for the law with only one thing to do. I guess I'll say a prayer and put it all on the line for you. What they don't know, something they haven't seen. I find a gap on the screen and hit them right in between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it.
Just one thing to say, yeah, what they don't know, something they haven't seen. I'm off that mean Joe Green, it's got me fading between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is May 16th, 2023. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast is back here with you, rocking through the NFL offseason. As we mentioned, the schedule release, it is giving us the final pieces of the NFL puzzle. And now we have the entire summer to hopefully make some damn sense of it, guys. Seth Woolcock back with you, leading the way. I'm joined by a man who specializes in fantasy football analytics, asbestos in the airports, and some lit pop culture references. Guys, give it up for Scott Reinier. What's up, Scott? How you doing tonight, man?
Hey, everybody from scorching hot Pacific Northwest, Seattle. How's it going?
Hey, good, man. Good. Thank you for joining us, Scott. And we also have one of the founding fathers of the Better Fantasy app, a man I had the pleasure of meeting out in Canton, Ohio last year. Guys, give it up for Will Tighe. What's up, Will?
What's up, guys? Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, man. How are you tonight? How are the vibes out in Ohio?
Vibes are so... If the vibes were higher, I would say that people should be worried. They're so immaculate right now. It's just awesome.
Okay. I love it, man. Will, this is your first time joining us tonight. Better Fantasy, you guys are really making a name for yourselves in this industry. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the Better Fantasy app, if you could, please.
Yeah, sure. So, I've been playing fantasy like most of us, pretty much since fifth grade. Been doing it with my best friends for over 15 years now. And, we encountered a problem that many others face, which is when the season starts, everybody, is all gung-ho, camaraderie's through the roof. That sense of connection that we love about fantasy, is at an all-time high.
Certainly.
Like draft day, there's nothing like it. But unfortunately, when you're 2-7, all of a sudden you care a whole lot less about the league. And so we started Better Fantasy to kind of allow fantasy leagues and friend groups to feel that the same emotions that they feel on draft day year round. And build a platform that helps connect people through fantasy sports. And so that's what we're doing. We're in beta right now.
Okay.
Would love for y'all to check it out and give me some feedback. And yeah, that's essentially what we're doing right now. We're a DFS operator. We offer cash contests in 20 states. You can check out our website to see which ones we're in. So yeah, it's pretty much it. Just, like everybody here, just a super degenerate fantasy player and sports bettor now too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm thankful to have you on tonight, man. I've been checking out the app. I've enjoyed some of the different features already, and I'm excited to get my league in there because it's like you said, man, I was one of the for the first times in my home league, I was one of the worst teams. And by the end, I hated even looking at my team because I was so pissed off about it. So Scott, you've probably had your handful of leagues too, where, hey man, if I could just get a little skin in the game and actually have some coin against my league mates, it'd be a lot more fun.
I mean, I'd love to say no, that's never happened to me, but yeah, no, I've had that. And I've only been doing Dynasty for a few years, so when it's redraft, it's even harder to stay in it. But I just have one question for Will. So when you guys, once you're a household name, which will probably be soon, will you have any sway over the Washington State legislature to allow gambling online? We're one of the I think we're still one of the last remaining holdouts. I can't do it here.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be everywhere eventually.
I know it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. I can tell you what, at risk of getting in trouble from my lawyers, I won't comment on anything specific, but I can say that our industry is doing everything we can to make sports betting and daily fantasy sports easily accessible, safe to play, and just an added form of entertainment for everybody who enjoys sports already. So it's going to happen hopefully sooner rather than later.
Nice. And I like we have lawyers flex. That was sweet.
Well, not that exactly. I just made that up.
Well, we appreciate it, Will. Tonight on the show, we are absolutely loaded. We're going to get in some front and center, talk about some of this news that's coming out right now. Is it real? Is it something we can take into account with our fantasy football and betting decisions, or is it just bullshit? We're going to tell you that. And then between bets, we're going to walk you through our early futures betting cards as well, what we like in these markets. Also joining us tonight on the podcast, in the back end, we got Kyle Scott, audio producer, resident Irishman of the podcast. What's up, Kyle?
Not much, Seth. How's it going? It's hard to believe I'm the only Irish person to ever be on this podcast. What an honor.
Will,
it's not true anymore.
Okay, there we go.
Get off my turf.
Kyle, we appreciate you holding it down in the back end, man. We also in the chat, we got the IBT family rolling. We got Toronto Dave locked and loaded. We got Hoove Tube. He's ready to go. Joshua saying, should I start Joe Mixon? A little, I don't know if we can tell you that right now, Joshua. We can tell you what we think about him.
Get him in the 7th round come August, then yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, let's go ahead. Let's jump into it here. But before we do, want to remind the family, if you guys want to help us out, you want to continue to support us, easiest way, give us a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, you want to come back and hang out again, hit that subscribe button, and we'll be here really every single week, all year long, baby. So let's go ahead. Let's get in it with front and center.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do. Give it a chance, you'll be begging for more. Save the spot just for you. We're all somewhere in between. How about you come to the place where we have some fun? Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. Come and give me another, cause the night is young. At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
So the fun part about doing a weekly show is we plan out this show weeks in advance, and then the day of something happens, something drops, and that's what happened today. And I kind of wanted to bring it up here, guys. Davante Adams opens up about concerns regarding Raiders in Marin Fader's piece for The Ringer. Basically, he comes out, this is a quote from him. The front office thinks this is the best move for us right now, kind of referring to the whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing. But for us right now, to put us in a position to be urgent, he says, we don't see eye to eye with what we think is best for us right now. So this could be a front office issue. This could be a Josh McDaniels issue. Scott, is this something we should be concerned about? Because they do have the league's leading rusher in that backfield.
I don't think it's something to be too concerned about. First of all, it was a really fantastic article. There was the talk about his issues with the front office, but then he talked a lot about his career and, how excited he was to get a first team All-Pro without Aaron Rodgers. And then I wrote down a quote. You might not be surprised that I wrote down this quote where he says, your kids don't care how work went. They just care about being with dad. So more power to Davante for going to Las Vegas. It sounds like makes much more sense for his family. He gets to see his family a lot. Apparently he's addicted to golf. But as far as the Raiders are concerned, I mean, I've never been a giant Jimmy Garoppolo fan, but I think I'm not necessarily downgrading or fading Davante Adams based on these words. I mean, he's not going anywhere. That's not what this is about. He was just being honest about where he is right now. He's 30, which it's still so weird to be like, oh man, he's 30. He's just getting up there in age.
Third quarterback in 3 years as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, I really enjoyed the article. I think I like it when these players that we just see with football helmets on and we see a last name and we see a fantasy score or a stat, when they open up about their lives and their thoughts and feelings, I like it. So, But as far as this year, Devontae Adams, I don't really think it moves the needle too much for me.
He's the wide receiver 6, Will, being drafted at the end of the first round. I already had concerns, and now if I think he saw the playbook, I think he's seeing Josh McDaniels take full reins of this Raiders offense. There's no more Derek Carr. We're going to run what we ran in New England, and I don't think he likes it. Is that how you're reading it, and are you scared away at that first-round price tag and redraft right now?
I wouldn't say I'm scared away from it, Seth. Devontae's one of the greatest wide receivers, in my opinion, of all time. And so those kind of guys that are just undeniable on offense, I don't think you have to worry about some of this extraneous stuff, quotes and sound bites and things like that. We know as journalists, we're going to take every opportunity we can to sort of make a story as impactful as it can be for the reader. And so I think a lot of that article was just sort of off-season. I don't want to say fodder, but it's an entertainment piece. And so I'm not scared by the end of the first round price tag, depending on how you want to go about your drafts. So I think Devontae's going to ball out again this year.
Okay. Well, this is why I love this podcast, because I come in here, I'm all panicked out. Like, I already didn't like the price, and then I'm hearing this bullshit. So yeah, I like that you guys say that. I'm still a little bit on the edge with Devontae Adams. I think I don't know if I'll be in for that price tag, just because like I said, I mean, this is an improved team from last season, I believe. However, there are a lot of more new weapons there. Trey Tucker's there, Michael Mayer's there. But at the end of the day, Devontae Adams, he's going to get his. We know that. So let's go ahead and move to Carolina here. Andy Dalton working with the first team offense per ESPN's David Newton. Is the red rifle, the red rocket, whatever you want to call him, Will, is he something we should be concerned about, specifically in super flex leagues here? Because, I mean, we've seen this song and dance before with the Bears a couple years ago. Is there a chance that Bryce Young doesn't start the season for the Panthers?
I don't think so. I mean, of course there's a chance, right? Like, there's a non-zero chance. But I don't think Andy Dalton's going to be the guy to come in and win that job in training camp over the number one pick and someone that we all loved as a prospect. I mean, look, Bryce Young was the guy that was coming out, and he's going to be sort of pro ready. He's going to have maybe like a lower ceiling, but he's going to have a really high floor. And I don't see what Andy Dalton gives you over Bryce Young. I think this is probably just sort of the early season, make the kid earn it kind of thing. I'm not reading too much into it.
Okay. Scott, any downgrade at all for Bryce Young in your redraft rankings? The only thing I can think of is that he's not getting those weekly reps with guys like Thielen, Chark, Hurst. However, at the same time, if he's as good as we think he is and the Panthers think he is, he'll be the starter by week 1 or 2 of the preseason.
Yeah, this doesn't concern me in the slightest. I mean, if we were in training camp right now, and this was what was being said, but I mean, dude, it hasn't even he wasn't even in the NFL 3 weeks ago. So the fact that Andy Dalton is technically starting on Monday, whatever that means, just means he's getting first team reps. Bryce Young's getting second team. But I watched the video that was based on with Frank Reich, and it was a little bit hard to understand exactly what he was talking about, because he said Bryce Young's going to get second team reps until we're ready for the transition. So I don't think it's going to be very long. But then he also went on to say, he's a young kid, so he's probably going to end up with more reps than Andy Dalton. So I didn't know if that just meant in total or more first team. Chris Sims and the guy he was with they jumped straight to, he's going to get more first team reps. But I don't think that's what he was saying. Either way, I think this is probably a pretty standard thing, like right at the start of the offseason workouts for the veteran, to work with the first team, the rookie to work with the second team. I mean, we could be laughing about even talking about this in a week when Bryce Young's with the first team. So no concern for me.
Okay. No concern for you guys for Bryce Young. What about Jahmyr Gibbs here, Will? He's bothered by an ankle injury early in minicamp. This is coming from Tim 20 Man from the Lions. Hell of a name for a beat reporter. I love that. Is this something we should be worried about, though? Because at the end of the day, we already have a concern with this guy's size coming into the NFL. He sprained his ankle at Alabama last year, missed a few games at Georgia Tech in his freshman season as well with a shoulder injury. Will, are you willing to take him at the end of the 4th round, RB17, knowing there's already some concerns here and it's May?
That's a great question. To answer like your first question, Seth, and this, you guys might be able to pick up on this by now, but I'm not going to put too much credence on this ankle injury this
Okay.
early into minicamp. I think I could be wrong, but I think I saw a report that he's actually already back at practice.
He is. He was back today.
Yeah. So I mean, like, look, anytime, and you brought it up earlier, Seth, with Bryce Young, anytime you're missing out on reps, that's nothing to, discredit. But I think for a guy like Gibbs playing in the Bill O'Brien offense at Alabama, like, I think he already had sort of like a good taste of sort of like a pro style offense. So I think picking up the concepts for him is going to be fairly easy. Ingratiating into the Detroit offense is going to be different, of course, than what Bill O'Brien was running. The price tag there, you said end of the fourth, 17th overall running back.
It sounds about right to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's pretty fair. I think it could go either way because, look, like, David Montgomery's going to eat into his work for sure. But look, you can't ignore the draft capital. Like, they picked him 12th overall. And some people were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but some people were saying that there was one team that had Gibbs over Bijan in their rankings. And so people are sort of hypothesizing that it might have been the Lions. So look, they love this kid. They're all in on him. I think that's a good price tag. I could go either way on it. Not to dodge the question. If I had to pick one, I'll say no, just because he's a rookie. I got to see it first.
Okay. I'm in. Like, I love everything about Jahmyr Gibbs. The thing is, too, is these rookie running backs, they keep winning people leagues if they can stay healthy. Najee a couple years ago, Breece Hall was looking like a league winner last year. Kenneth Walker ended up being kind of a league winner as well. So I'm going to be in on Gibbs if that is the price tag. And let's keep in mind as well here, Scott, week number 1, opening night against the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you know what team allowed the most receptions to running backs last season, Scott?
Don't have it in front of me, but I'm going to just bet that it's the Chiefs.
You are correct. Let's giddy up. It's going to be a big week 1 for Gibbs. I'm full in here. Hoove is out, he's saying in the chat. And we also have Dee in the chat tonight as well, saying hello, and happy Tuesday. Dee, I think it's her 40th birthday, if I'm not wrong. I think I saw on Facebook.
That's awesome.
So,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dee. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. And if it's not your 40th birthday, I apologize.
Hey. Wished her happy birthday anyway, whatever.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dee. We appreciate you tuning in tonight. Let's go ahead down to
can I say one real quick thing about Gibbs?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to say, whether I'm in or out at that price, it has nothing to do with this minor ankle injury. One thing I noticed right away as soon as the ankle injury report came, a lot of the people that are probably like, nope, he's too small. He's not gonna be able to sustain, immediately like, see. It's like, come on, let's pump the brakes here. It's a minor thing.
Yeah.
And for the record, I am most definitely in on Gibbs at that price.
Fantastic. Are you in it on Chris Godwin, Scott? That's the next question here. He's about to see some more outside work in 2023 via the Bucs Scott Smith. And we've seen Chris Godwin be very efficient out of the slot. 60% of his snaps last season came from that slot position. Wide receiver 19 in 15 games. And I'll be honest, I had Godwin in a couple leagues, and I panicked after week 1 and sold him, and I regretted it ever since. However, this wide receiver room is absolutely atrocious outside of him and Mike Evans, Russell Gage, and then these are real players. Keep in mind, these are the receivers outside of Russell Gage on the outside. Kalen Geiger and Devin Tompkins. Undrafted free agents. There's not a lot to work with. In the slot, there's Trey Palmer and Raheem Jarrett, Scott. Any more love for Chris Godwin than you already have because of this report?
No, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what he's going to be on the outside a little bit more even means. I mean, I think probably that would mean he's more still off the line as the flanker, not the X. That's what I would presume. I mean, he's been 60+% slot since I think it was 2018. His first 2 years in the league, he was not really in the slot. And then he also he didn't finish very high in fantasy. And then, since 2019 on, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 38 the year he got hurt, wide receiver 8, wide receiver 14. So, I mean, he's made his hay in the slot. So, I mean, we'll see. But the thing about him is according to reception perception, he's pretty elite against both man and press man coverage, which is a little bit crazy. That's not necessarily the norm for a slot receiver. So I just think his skill set, maybe not the X receiver, just the alpha X receiver, but I think I think moving him around the formation, around the field is a good idea, and I think he can excel at it. So
Okay.
I mean, but it's not necessarily like, oh, now I'm bumping him up around, or I like Chris Godwin. I think he's kind of like a rich man's Tyler Lockett, in that I don't think he quite gets the recognition he deserves.
Never.
So
Okay. All right. Will, any final thoughts here in Tampa Bay? Interested in any other pass catchers in this offense as well, outside of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin here? Trey Palmer, Raheem Jarrett. There's some interesting rookies. Also, Cade Auden, second-year tight end. He might have a big year. No elite Cameron Brate in this offense, though.
I mean, I'm definitely intrigued by Russell Gage. I think intrigued might be too strong of a word even.
Okay.
But just because, to your point, he's going to be the third guy, right? And so when they're running 3 wide receivers out there, he's going to be the guy, presumably. The Godwin thing is interesting because when they say move him outside, I think to your point, Scott, he's going to move outside to the flanker. He's not going to be the X when Mike Evans is on the field as well. So I think it's going to be probably fairly similar stuff. I love Chris Godwin as sort of like one of those interesting, not even a buy low, but like just take him, like Tyler Lockett last year. Like this guy's going to be going in a part of the draft where you're looking at other players with extreme risk profiles. And I think Chris Godwin, outside of the injury stuff, is going to be fairly safe, even with Baker Mayfield throwing the football. He's the quarterback for the Bucs now, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
Kyle Trask takes it.
Yeah, unless it's Kyle Trask time, which I don't know if it'll ever be Kyle Trask time in Tampa, unfortunately.
Probably not.
He's kind of like an NFC Keenan Allen.
Yeah. I think he's just a great football player, you know. And so if he can stay healthy, I think he's one of those guys that maybe he's not going to win your league in the 6th or 7th round, but he's going to be somebody that just adds to the solidity and the depth of your team. And you're going to feel great with him as your wide receiver 2 or as your flex. And definitely interesting buy low in dynasty too, I think, because he's getting up there in age. And so if you're sort of a team that's in contention right now and you're looking to add maybe a depth wide receiver piece or somebody that you can feel good about in flex, I think Chris Godwin is somebody that's worth thinking about giving up a couple of middling rookie picks for.
I like it. I like the call there, Will. We got Albert in the chat saying good evening. Good evening to you as well, Albert. Thanks for joining us tonight, man. All right, Austin Eckler, not at voluntary workouts. This is coming from Daniel Popper of The Athletics. Will, is this something we need to be concerned about? I mean, is dog shit behind him? We're talking Joshua Kelly, 3.5 yards per carry for his career. Isaiah Spiller, one of the most overhyped rookies, in my opinion, ever. Is this something we should worry about? Eckler's been the man.
Yeah, so normally I'm the guy that says don't worry about these mid-May camp reports. But this one is kind of a little different, I think, because of the Le'Veon Bell precedent, right? And Austin Eckler's looking for a contract. The Chargers appear not to want to give it to him, and Eckler seems pretty adamant in that he and I agree, he does deserve a new contract. Criminally underpaid. And so I think it's within the range of possibilities that Austin Eckler sits out a la Le'Veon Bell. And so
wow.
I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's likely, but it's possible, right?
Yeah.
I think if we were talking about this in 2014, we would say, no, he'll be there. Like he'll quote unquote hold out, and then he's going to play. He's going to be back for week 1. But I guess to answer your question, I'm a little nervous. Yeah.
And Scott, this is so off brand for Austin Eckler, who's been a team first guy, loves the fantasy football community. Like we know who this guy is more than we know most players. So are you sounding the alarm bells right now? Because it sounds like our friend Will might be, just a little bit at least.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I'm more concerned than your typical May coach speak, headline grabbing, we're all really bored stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm a little concerned about this. What alleviates my concern, at least for now, a little bit, is because it is the Chargers, and they have shown a tendency to not really give into this. This happened with Melvin Gordon. It happened with Melvin Ingram. And I mean, granted, his name's not Melvin, but they did it with 2 previous Melvins. They did end up, I think with Melvin Ingram, they did end up paying him closer to the start of the season. So
Joey Bosa as well, 2 years ago, I believe it was the day training camp started, he signed. So maybe that's something we see here.
I think this will make us sweat a little bit over the offseason, because I don't see the Chargers giving him a new contract right now because he wants one. I agree he deserves one. Whether it's on brand or off brand for him, I'm never going to knock a player that plays NFL football for trying to get the money they deserve.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like check back in with me a little bit later. It's not really anything yet, just because again it's May. But if it gets to the point and there's a stalemate, Will was right. Like until Le'Veon Bell, I would have said no way, but it's happened.
We haven't seen it really since then. Deshaun Watson, we did see Watson, but there were some other, things going on as well there. I think in the 2021 season.
I hope eventually they extend him.
Yeah,
he deserves it. Dude scores all the touchdowns, man.
He's so good, and I mean, it's not that I don't think he'd be good elsewhere, but he just fits within that offense so perfectly, and I want to keep seeing it.
Seth, do I have time to throw in an ad-lib question for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's just play out a hypothetical here. It's August 15th, and nothing. No contract talks are happening. There's nothing going on. Are you still gonna be taking Eckler, in the first round, or is he gonna slip? Like, what's that point where it's like, okay, like I've had enough, I'm out, because you can lose your league in the first round with a guy that doesn't play, obviously. So at what point are you taking, let's just like Tony Pollard, if he's looking good in camp, blah, 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 like Austin Eckler, are you going to say no to Tony Pollard and take the risk with Eckler? Like, I guess just like, what's that point?
Like, good question.
I think if it came down to it, and I was in my, home redraft, biggest one, big money league here, I would avoid him in the first round if that was the case. However, second round come calling, middle of the second, count me in. We've seen it. How many times have we seen it? Last year, Alvin Kamara, everyone was worried about. Kamara didn't have a great season, but he wasn't ultimately suspended. A couple of years ago, we also had the same situation with Zeke. And these guys usually pay off at that price. First is too rich for my blood. Even now, I think Austin Eckler, I mean, he is getting up there in age. I think there's going to be some touchdown regression, you would think, coming off 18 touchdowns, Scott. So I think even as of now, like, he's more of a back end first guy for me. And I don't even think he's going to get there in most drafts if we know he was signed.
I know one thing. A lot of people overdraft Joshua Kelly.
Oh,
it's already happening.
I know. I am in some startups right now, and I've been seeing Joshua Kelly go like 14th, 15th round. And even that feels like so early for a guy who, again, 3.5 yards per carry. Like, I think we could stick you out there or Kyle in some shoulder pads, and I think you could get him 3.5 yards per carry behind this Chargers offensive line.
Seth, one more hypothetical. Sorry, and then I promise I'm done.
No, you're good.
Okay, August 15th rolls around and no sign of Eckler. End of the first round, you got the 12th pick. Eckler or Devontae?
Neither. Pivot. Leave the league.
I'm probably Devontae in that spot.
I would agree.
Gun to the head, Eckler.
Dude put up 1,500 yards last year with Derek Carr. I don't think he's going to regress all that much.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He doesn't like that playbook. I'm worried, but
it also, the article talked a lot about how he's like, even in the throes of the losses last year, he was still like, I gotta be me. I gotta stick to my same work ethic. I gotta be there for everybody. Like, I just don't think, and Jimmy doesn't throw it deep as much. All right, then his ADOT will go down a little bit, but he'll still get fed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's Devontae Adams.
I guess
anyway.
We also need to think Jimmy Garoppolo never has had a receiver like Devontae Adams as well. He's had some studs, but no Devontae Adams. So I love the hypotheticals. Keep them coming, Will. Let's go ahead, guys. Let's shift over here to our next segment of the night. We're going to jump into some between bets and look at the NFL futures market.
Between bets. Between bets.
All right, between bets, we win, you win, we all win. Let's start here. We got a lot of future markets to get through, but I want to start with the win totals over under. I think this is one of the most fun and approachable markets, especially for some beginner bettors, because over or under this game total, you can look right at the schedule. It's available everywhere. Will, I want to start out with you, man. Where are you going in this market? What are you seeing as a value right now that you are telling our audience, hey, maybe we should get down on this?
Yeah, let me just say, seeing that B-roll of people playing craps, that got me pretty juiced up. So pardon me if I'm a little distracted, a little hot and bothered. No, I think, look, just to echo your point, Seth, I love the over-under market just because, like you said, it's very approachable. It's hard for beginners to sort of have a almost like a subconscious sense of and price sensitivity. So when we talk about division winners, that includes 4 potential outcomes. And so it's not a 50-50 coin flip hypothetically. So with this, it's a little bit easier for somebody to say like, okay, like I see minus 140, I see plus 125. It's a little bit easier for them to see like, okay, it makes sense of it. So I definitely think it's a little more approachable. I circled a couple. I'll give you the one that I kind of like a little less first. It's Houston over 6.5. I think
I looked at this for a while. Yes.
Yeah. I think that that's pretty interesting, mostly due in part to the lack of aptitude of the AFC South, right? I guess now we love the Jaguars, right? Tennessee, blah. Indianapolis, blah. So maybe we can squeak out 4 or 5 wins right there just in the division,
Okay.
So 6.5 is just such a low number. I know that roster's trash, but I love DeMeco Ryans. I mean, I think he's just going to instill, I think they're going to be sort of like just that team that's scrappy and that ekes out wins. And I think 6.57 in this case is going to be a pretty attainable number for them.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the year that they weren't saying, hey, we're going to wait until next year to get better. We're going to go all in. We're going to sell our 2024 first round pick, get Will Anderson as well. So they improved not only on the offense, but on the defense, bringing some very veteran leadership as well in that coaching staff. I like it, Will. What else do you have for us here in this market?
Yeah, I'm starting to not feel as great about this one, but I also have Seattle over 8.5. And my rationale with that was basically like, look, they had 9 wins last year, right, Scotty? And all they did was add Jackson Smith-Njigba, Zach Charbonnet, and Witherspoon. So how do they not get 9 again, right?
And Bobby Wagner's coming home too, Scott.
Yeah.
So, this masterclass we've seen by the Seahawks the last 2 off seasons has been great. Give everyone in that front office a raise. I love what we're seeing all the way around here, Scott. Obviously, it's always a tough division. We know that. But I think this NFC West is actually a little takeable now because we don't have stability with Jimmy Garoppolo there in San Francisco. The Rams, what are they really going to be? We don't know yet. And I like this bet a lot here, Scott. How do you feel about it for your Seahawks?
Oh, I like it. Yeah, I mean, for the same reason. I mean, what they did last year, maybe it's a little simplistic, but what they did last year, what they added. And I mean, honestly, I feel like outside of them and the 49ers, it's those 2 teams. Like Cardinals are probably one of the worst teams in the league. And the odds of them winning the division show that.
Yeah.
Plus 2,500. And the Rams, I don't think they're going to make much noise this year. So I think the, their F them picks Super Bowl run is starting to catch up with them a little bit. Which,
salary cap is real, guys. The salary cap is real.
We could debate that for a whole show, whether that was worth it because they did win a Super Bowl. But aside from that, I think it's the Niners and Seahawks. And, I also, it's hard to project the Niners just steamrolling through the NFC when we don't know who their quarterback's going to be yet. It just is. So I like this. I think I'm good with them over 8.5.
Okay.
Hopefully many wins over 8.5.
Really good start to the schedule for them offensively as well. If you want to get, I'd be investing in players. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he's going at a value. Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker. I think they're all values right now in drafts. Rams, Lions, Panthers, Giants. That's the start for them. It's not that tough.
They have a brutal stretch later in the season.
Okay.
Like Niners, Cowboys, Eagles. Like it's rough.
Okay. All right, Scott, I'm coming to you here for your favorite in this over-under win totals market.
I'm also going with a not betting the underdog in this situation. I'm going with the Saints, the under 9.5 at minus 125. That one just jumped out at me because I haven't really analyzed the schedule that much yet. I haven't really dug into it, but just you've got the AFC South and NFC South are both just like I have no idea who's going to win those divisions. Saints are the favorite right now, but 9.5 wins seems really high for the New Orleans Saints when they brought in Derek Carr.
Yes.
And Alvin Kamara, who knows? Very likely could be suspended. Jamal Williams, we all love him, but if you've got Jamal Williams and a rookie, people love Kendra Miller, but and Michael Thomas apparently is healthy, but maybe not. Who knows?
I don't buy that.
I just don't see where this 9.5 wins would come from. Yes, they get to play their own division, so some would come from there. But the team I think that's going to, oddly enough, that I think is going to take the South is the Falcons. So
I don't disagree with you at all, Scott. And actually, I wrote up an article for the site on Friday, and I had this very bet in there, and it was at plus money then. So people are already getting down on it. The line is already moved in just a matter of, 3-4 days here. So I'm 100% on board here. Derek Carr, I do not think is going to make this team that much better. They are running a offense from 2011. They got exposed last year. Pete Carmichael needs put away, go to the XFL or something, stop calling plays for the Saints. And I think Dennis Allen's a little over his skis, honestly, as well. So, yeah, this was one of my favorite bets on the slate. So I'm glad you threw this out there. Will, any thoughts on the Saints here? And the schedule's not hard, but it's also no easy path for them either.
Yeah, I actually think the NFC South is going to be surprisingly difficult and very competitive this year. I think obviously Bryce Young coming into Carolina,
Yes.
who really came on at the end of last year. Carolina almost made the playoffs. And then, Tampa, we'll see. But they still have pieces, right? Baker, who knows, they could be spicy. And then the Falcons too. They're one of my favorite teams this year. So I like the under 9.5. I actually think that's a really good bet, Scott.
Because I think, I'm probably not touching the bets on who's going to win this division for what Will just said, but I would probably bet the winner is not going to get to 10 wins. That's more what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Tom Brady leaving this division. Couldn't even get there last season. I'll go ahead with mine now, guys. I'm going to go Chicago Bears under 7.5 games. This is at plus money still. And sometimes sports betting doesn't have to be this hard. It really doesn't, especially when you're fading the Chicago Bears. This is a bet on history repeating itself. They have won 8 games or more 4 times in the last 10 years.
Oh.
I do like what they've done this offseason. Wide receiver, they got a lot better. Added DJ Moore. Offensive lines, first round, love the Darnell Wright pick. Linebacker, got a lot better as well. But this is still a team. Their front 4 is terrible. Like, everyone thought they were going to go after Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, and they didn't end up with anyone. And when you have a defensive front that only got 14 sacks in a season, you need to have a good secondary, and they don't. They have talented guys. They have Jaquan Brisker back there at safety and some other young guns. But when you have a young secondary, they're going to get exposed. And Justin Fields just has not proved that he can keep up through the air. Maybe we see a difference here year 2 in under Luke Getsky. Maybe we see a difference with DJ Moore. However, this is not a team I want to bet on anything but fading. And also the schedule's not great. A lot of beatable opponents for them are on the road this season, so not a lot of good games back in Chicago. 4 playoff teams in the first 8 weeks. I think it's downhill early for the Bears here. Will, how do you feel about the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields, and the gang?
If you would have asked me before that little debrief there, Seth, I would have said that I would take the over, but I think that's a really good point that you made about their easier opponents coming on the road. And look, that, according to the books, that's a 3-point swing in the case of a spread, and that can win or lose you a lot of games. I probably won't play it just because I don't want to bet against Justin Fields at this point in time, just because he's
that
sort
is
of
the
rapidly
question.
ascending. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But the rest of the team around him is not great. But it's one of those things where if you have an elite quarterback with that cheat code rushing ability, you can probably get to 500. So I might stay away, but you talked me into the under a little bit more.
Okay. Scott, any final thoughts here as we close out this market here? And as Will kind of alluded to, they're going to Denver. or excuse me, they're going to Tampa Bay, they're going to Las Vegas, they're going to the Saints. It's not an easy road for them. Browns, like all these teams that I think they can beat, it's on the road. We know Justin Fields doesn't like to play outside either. He's got a couple of cold games lined up for December and January.
Yeah, but wouldn't you rather play your tougher games at home? Right? When if you had to choose, you play the easier teams on the road.
I guess, but
teams at home?
I would kind of want to play some crappy teams at home, I think, as well, though, just because.
That's true.
You make a good point, though. You make a good
subjective. No, once again, common theme. I agree with Will. I'm probably just not touching this one.
Okay.
It's too close. I would honestly lean over.
You love Justin Fields, though. There's so many.
I can't wait to see him with a legitimate left tackle.
Yeah.
Blocking.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got weapons, man. Khalil Herbert, DJ Moore, like that's serious stuff.
Cole Kmet.
No. There's been a common theme, Will, on this program for about 3 years of me fading Cole Kmet.
Well, and I think the other thing that's important here is the division just isn't as strong as it has been in the past either, in my opinion. I mean, the Lions are projected to win the division, for God's sakes. Packers aren't what they used to be. Packers might, I guess, maybe have the best defense, but Minnesota just gutted their defense. I mean, Minnesota is going to be a high flying fantasy scoring team, the way they've had their offseason going. So I think they could sneak in 8 wins, maybe 9 potentially. I mean, just like we were saying the same thing last year and it didn't pan out. It's all going to revolve around Justin Fields. I feel that he's going to take a leap this year. So I think with that comes more consistency and but that's the thing. Right around 7 or 8 wins.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going against the market here, and you brought up the NFC North, so let's go ahead and pivot into the division bets here. And I'm going to saddle up the Green Bay Packers. I'm ready to go against the grain. I'm ready to go against the market in this one. It's plus 500. I think you're getting a little bit of a value here. And this is another bet about history, guys. They've been a winning football team in 12 of the last 15 years. Yes, that all had Aaron Rodgers, one of the all-time greats. But this is also but this is also a bet on Jordan Love. Guy sat behind Rodgers for 3 years in an easy-to-run system. Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave, good running backs. Like, I really like what they did with this offense here. And you alluded to that defense being really good, Scott. They have 8 former first-round picks, and all the undrafted guys are like Rasul Douglas and Devondre Campbell, all these studs. For their first 5 games this season are teams against teams with an under 500 record last season: Bears, Falcons, Saints, Lions, Raiders, and then a bye. Like, that's as easy as you can get for Jordan Love. We're gonna know by probably September, October who Jordan Love is, if he's the guy or not. They only face 4 playoff teams all season long, so I'm going against the grain here. Any thoughts on the Packers, boys? Because I know it's a little bit of a long shot. I already laid this one down. I actually got 450. The line's since moved up, so I was a bad gambler and I took it too early here, Will.
Well, I mean, we just got done talking about how much, if I think Bears are going to be over, that how much stock I'm putting into Justin Fields. I mean, this is quite a bit of stock being put into Jordan Love. And I mean, what you just said makes sense. Relatively, as far as across the NFL, relatively friendly schedule. I don't really I'm kind of meh on Jordan Love. It's not very good analysis. I'll admit it, but I'm kind of just waiting to see what.
I don't know if you can have good analysis on Jordan Love, though. You can look back to what he did in 2018 in college when he was a stud.
But I also like what they did in the draft. I like the weapons they have. I'm a big Jaden Reed guy. I like Christian Watson as a kind of boomer bust deep threat. So, and you're right. I mean, it's the Packers. I wouldn't be shocked if they still ended up winning the division. I just think, the lack of Aaron Rodgers is a big enough piece of it that I don't know if they're going to overcome these odds.
Okay. Will, any thoughts on the Packers here, this bet, and after that, go ahead and give us your bet as well. I don't know if it's as spicy as this little Packers here.
It's definitely not. No, I like the price. Look, like plus 500, that's a lot of money to be made there. great team around Jordan Love. I love Jaden Reed also, Scott. I thought that was a really awesome pick for them. Him going with Christian Watson and then Romeo Doubs, pretty solid wide receiver core there, which is so ironic. And then Musgrave too, I thought was a really, really interesting pick there as well for them to replace Tunyon. So great defense. It's going to come down to Jordan Love, obviously, but I don't think he has to be all world to kind of will this team to the division like we're sort of saying Justin Fields has to be. Right. And so if we're looking at what's
the defense.
Yeah. And so if we're looking at what's more likely, I think it's more likely that Jordan Love is okay than Justin Fields is like awesome. So there you go. You have him over the Bears. Are you going to rock with Jared Goff? Like, I'm not.
It's you can never rock with Jared Goff.
Yeah. Are you going to roll with Kirk Cousins? I could see that, good offense, terrible defense.
That's that. Yeah. That Zadarius Smith out the door now too this week. Yeah.
So, I mean, look, like obviously it's not the most likely thing to happen, but I think plus 500, I think that's a good value for you there. So I like it. I'm not going to bet it, but I like it.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I am going to bet though, because this is like basically putting your money in a mutual fund. It's called the Chiefs to win the division. Kansas City to win the AFC West minus 165. Just don't overthink it, guys. Like, so their win percentage in the last 5 years in the AFC West, I have it written down 780. Like they are, I think 64-18.
That's good.
That's like, and honestly too, like this is like sort of the public bet to take, like Chiefs to win the division. Like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll take that. Like that's what people are taking with their welcome bonus that they get from DraftKings. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, sure, I'll take the Chiefs to win the division. So it's artificially, even like minus 165 is not good value, but I think it's just so likely to happen. And the other thing too, on top of that, is they're going to be playing in all the primetime games. So you get to root on your team that you bet on like every Sunday night, so I think it's twofold. It's going to win. It's a lock. You can take that to the bank right now. You can take out a second mortgage for this bet. And then it's also going to be fun to root for. So that's why I have them here as my bet here for the division.
Sometimes you got to lay the juice, especially on studs, whatever sport you're betting, and the Chiefs are no exception. And I think we learned last year, like, don't bet against this team. Don't bet. Like everyone was talking coming to the year, me included, this podcast included, oh, the Broncos are going to be great. The Raiders are going to be improved. They got Devontae. Look what the Chargers are doing to their defense. And what happened? Same thing that always happens. So take it to the bank here. Will saying Kansas City to win the AFC West minus 165. Scott, over to your division bet to round out this market.
Speaking of a fun team to root for, I'm taking the Cincinnati at plus 140. I mean, part of the reason that was somewhat straightforward. I think they're going to win the division. And out of all the teams projected to win the division, it's the biggest payout at plus 140. So that was part of my logic there. I mean, I don't think it's just a slam dunk runaway for Cincinnati necessarily. I think Baltimore is going to be kind of back to a contender that we're used to. Who knows about Pittsburgh, Cleveland? I mean, I think it's going to be a fairly typical AFC North, dogfight,
slugfest. Yeah, right till the end, baby.
But I just think Cincinnati, the team they've built, I just think they still have the edge in that division. So this being a positive payout, that's why I would take it.
Well, they only got better this offseason too. Orlando Brown, maybe the best offseason acquisition of any team.
I keep wanting to call him Orlando Bloom, but that's not right.
What was Orlando Bloom in? What was he? I always
Pirates
hear
of the
that
Caribbean.
Name. Oh,
Pirates of the Caribbean, and he was
okay.
the elfin archer in Lord of the Rings.
Okay, not a Lord of the Rings guy. Went right over my head.
You want to watch it real quick?
Yeah, let's break here from now. Okay. Yeah, I don't mind this bet at all, Scott. I think the Steelers are going to be much improved. I think the Ravens are going to have a little more spark, but I still think the Ravens are being a little overhyped coming this season. They have a lot of holes overall on that team. So I'm with it. It's a
little bit of a leap of faith in the change in the OC. I think there's and I'm buying into it. I'm like, okay, it's wishful thinking, but moving away from Greg Roman, change an offensive coordinator, Zay Flowers, like
I don't think it's going to fix everything.
I don't either.
So I'm willing to fade the Ravens a little bit here by hedging my bets with the Bengals. Any thoughts on Cincinnati? Your home, not your home team, but your home state team here. Are you a Browns fan now that you live in Cleveland, Will?
It's hard to root for a team that has Deshaun Watson as their quarterback.
Yep.
But the Browns fit, dude. Can I curse on this podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Dude,
yes. We have an explicit tag.
Cleveland fucking loves the Browns, man. It's like Buffalo-esque. And so I would be happy for the people of the city if the Browns won. That stadium sucks. So
does it really?
It's right on the it's right on the water, which is cool.
Yeah, you think that'd be sweet, man?
No, it's sweet in September, but once you get to, but once you get past that, no, I think the Bengals is a great bet, Scott. Like, look, it's similar line of thinking with the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just take the All-Pro quarterback, set it and forget it. Great team, going to be a dogfight, but I think it's a sharp bet for sure. Plus 140, I think is pretty good value there.
Wow. I love it, man. I had no idea that the Brown Stadium was that bad because Steelers Stadium also on water, but it's a river. It's in Pittsburgh. It's not in Cleveland, so a little bit better there. Will, would you go out? Let's say I'm going to hypothetical question you now. Let's say the Browns, they make the playoffs. They win their first playoff game. Are you out at a Cleveland bar celebrating with the people? Are you posing as a Browns fan? How's that work? No.
No, I'm at home playing video games with my cats. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Staying away from the Cleveland ruckus. I love it. Guys, let's go ahead and shift markets here to the awards, which a very fun market. You can get some really cool value. And Scott and I were actually talking about Will's bet pre-show and just how this market's one of the craziest because someone is so heavy favorited in this award. Will, take it away, please.
Yeah, I mean, look, like this is sort of the question, DeMar Hamlin, right? I think that's sort of what you guys were alluding to. I just like the value here. So my play is Stafford to win comeback player of the year at plus 1,000. And so it's going to be hard not to give it to DeMar Hamlin if he comes back and he plays football this year in any capacity.
Yep.
And I would not like be angry if he
right.
Comes back. I mean, like that would be incredible. Just a testament to the human spirit and would bring so much joy to so many people, and rightfully so. Having said that, as a betting man, it's hard for me to pass up Stafford at plus 1,000. I want to shout out Sean Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast for putting me onto this one. It's just great value, and I'm a sucker for great value, and so I think Stafford plus 1,000. Look, I think indications are that his arm is going to be fine. At least it's a lot better at this point than it was last year. I don't think it's like degenerative or anything like that. If he can sling a couple of touchdowns to Cooper Kupp, if he can throw for decent yardage, and then if he can have a solid touchdown interception ratio, maybe sneak him into the wild card spot. I think Stafford is a pretty good bet at plus 1,000. I think that's good value.
Okay. I like that. I'm going to go with Micah Parsons for mine, defensive player of the year. And I know this isn't like a super fun market. Like I would much rather root for some rookies, root for some comebacks. And as you kind of said, Will, like that market is wide open if DeMar Hamlin doesn't come back. This one, you're not getting great value on some of the top people, but I think you are getting value on Micah Parsons at plus 750 here. A pass rusher has won this award 3 straight seasons and 8 times in the last 10 years as well. And a lot of times that's in their 3rd or 4th season in the NFL. Parsons enters his 3rd here. And this guy just keeps ascending. When he was here at Penn State, we didn't even play him like a true edge. We had him at the mic for whatever reason, standing up a lot. But I think he's going to come out and have a really dominant 3rd year in the NFL here. A lot of questionable QB play early. Colt McCoy or Clayton Tune early on for the Arizona Cardinals. Mac Jones, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, we're not really sure. And then at the end of the year, too, week 16 against Tua. Is he banged up? We don't really know. Week 17, Jared Goff. If Goff isn't going as planned, could it be Hendon Hooker in there late in the season? And then Washington Commanders, week 18. What do we as fans and media members remember most of the NFL season? The beginning and the end. And I think Micah Parsons is going to feast on bad quarterback play early on and at the end of the season. So I'm going to go with plus 750 for him to win Defensive Player of the Year. Let's go Cowboys, baby. Hook them. I don't think that's Cowboys, but hook them either way. Scott, anything? You're muted as well.
I like this pick. I mean, I think Micah Parsons has as good a chance as any defensive player in the NFL to take home this award. And you put in some additional analysis, and I agree. I don't exactly know what goes through the minds of the people that are actually voting for these awards, but as far as a fan and an analyst, it's true. I remember a lot more about the first part of the year and the end of the year than I do week 9.
Week 9's a little bit of a blur.
Once week 9 leaves, it's like,
yeah,
it's like a whirlwind once you get to the middle of the season. So I like it.
right. All right, Scott, what is your award pick here? Anything as sexy as a plus 750 or even better value with Will's bet here?
1 second. Yeah, so mine's a little spicy. Not sure if I would have the balls to bet something like this, but I'm for offensive rookie of the year. I'm going with Jordan Addison with at plus 1,700. So here's my thinking on it. Again, not out of all the picks I've put into this episode, this is the least likely. I get it. But the way I see it, Bijan Robinson's the obvious choice for it. Yes. So I didn't really want to. That's not really good entertainment for me to talk about Bijan Robinson, except they may, I did learn something tonight, like taking the Chiefs, or taking Bijan here. Not necessarily, it's not a bad choice. I just wanted to talk about something a little bit more entertaining and out there for this last one. So, the way I see it is all three of these quarterbacks could potentially struggle. They could potentially, I think all three quarterbacks are going to be great in the NFL. And I'm talking about Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson when I say the three. But they could easily struggle. They could easily have some struggles their rookie year. Tendency is if any of them hit, they will be right there in the running for offensive rookie of the year as a quarterback. But outside of that, if anything goes wrong there, I think Jordan Addison is next in line. Jordan Addison after Bijan Robinson is my first rookie off the board in redraft, and not really hesitating about it. And the reason I'm saying that is because he's going to Minnesota. He's walking right into a starting role. They gutted their defense. They're going to be behind. They're going to be passing a lot and playing alongside Justin Jefferson. I think Addison's going to be the top scoring rookie receiver this season. I like JSN long term, but I think the situation is better for Jordan Addison in season 1. So, I mean, it's a big swing. It's plus 1,700. But it might be something I might throw a couple bucks on because I could see a path to it.
Okay. I'm too scared to bet anything else in this market. Last year, I had some long shots on Kenny Pickett throughout the season, a couple different bets. Anything you like in this offensive rookie of the year market here, Will? Because I can't get Scott. I think your analysis is on point here. And I love the defensive point that we could see an air raid type of system here from the Minnesota Vikings having to play catch up a lot. But Will, it's so hard for me to get behind anyone but Bijan here.
So this was actually in the contention for one of my picks for the awards, and it's because everything you said, Scott. The price is great, obviously plus 1,700. But yeah, the quarterbacks, in order to win, if you're just an average rookie quarterback, you're not going to win. This award goes to somebody who shows out, who balls out, and the odds-on favorite for that is obviously Bijan or potentially Gibbs. But I think Addison landed in the best spot out of any of the rookies because he's going to be opposite of arguably the best wide receiver in the league. So he's going to be able to have awesome matchups. He's a highlight kind of guy. I think Jordan Addison is a great pick. When we look back, last year with Garrett Wilson, he had an awesome season, right? I think in order to win this award, you have to have an awesome season. And if for some reason it's not Bijan, I think Addison is most likely to have that awesome season that people really remember and think about. So I love this.
Okay, awesome.
But to your point with that, for Garrett Wilson to get it took an injury to Breece Hall. He would have run away with it.
100%. 100%. That's why it's plus 1,700 though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to shift into the best remaining value bet. We're looking at different markets here, conference winners, Super Bowls, name the finalists to make the playoffs, you name it. And we're going to save Will's for last because no one knows what Will's is. So we're going to get his last. I'm going to go with a little bit of a value here. And some shade has been thrown on this episode by you gentlemen, you fine gentlemen, on the Indianapolis Colts. I'm riding with Colts Nation. I'm riding with our guys, Pat McAfee, Jim Irsay, and the boys. Colts to make the playoffs, plus 375. And this is just a team I frankly believe in. I honestly thought for the last couple of years they've been a quarterback away. Their offensive line was stinky last season, just terrible. But they have good players on it. Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Braden Smith. This is a good offensive line. The defense, if they can get healthy, DeForest Buckner, Shaq Leonard was not far considered for defense player of the year multiple times a couple of years ago. And Kenny Moore, like, it's a good defense, good offensive line. Shane Steichen is what I really believe in, though. This guy turned Jalen Hurts into a questionable suspect quarterback at times to an MVP candidate. And Anthony Richardson, the guy's not only really smart, really athletic, but out of some reports we're hearing, he's a really good guy too. Cleaning up the rookie dinner, helping people. I just love everything about this Colts team, honestly. And they only have 2 playoff teams before the Week 11 bye and then 2 after it. And a lot of their beatable opponents are at home. I think the Colts are going to surprise some people. And we always know, like, that 7 seed in the AFC or the NFC, despite how good the conference can be, there's always like sometimes like a suspect team every single season. And I think the Colts are going to be that this year, plus 375, a little bit more of a long shot here for me. But I'm going to go with the Colts. You guys can go ahead and tear me apart, though. I'm open to it.
Well, wait a second. I'm trying to remember when we were fading or.
Yeah.
Someone was talking about that. I think it was Will. He's talking about the Texans and talking about
easier division than in years past.
But that's not necessarily just because of the Colts. I'll be honest with you, Seth. I didn't look at your picks for this one, and this was I was thinking about taking this exact pick.
Okay.
Then I saw that you took it because I agree. I think that's good odds. I believe in Anthony Richardson. I think there'll be some growing pains, but I don't think it's going to be some 2-season thing to learn how to play quarterback. I think it's going to be pretty quick. And they have a much better team around him than, say, a Justin Fields, who came in kind of raw and they're wondering how long it would take. He's got, and you hit it with the coach, who I can't pronounce his name. And what he did. And what he did for Jalen Hurts. So no, like I said, like it was kind of funny when I looked at the show sheet and saw that you had taken this one, because I was going through and I was like, ooh, I kind of like that one. And there it was. So no disrespect for the Colts here.
Appreciate it. We got Yudo in the chat saying I'm up in the. Yeah, he tries.
You're on the clock. Let's make a live pick right now.
He knows where you are.
I think we're in the 27th or 28th round, so this would be no fun for our viewers. Right now, I think we're getting close to picking kickers.
It'd be fun for me and Will, but maybe not the viewers.
That is true. Hoove in the chat, he's saying Jaguars. Yeah, like I think the Jaguars are going to be solid again. Hoove. Yeah, I think they're going to be solid, but. Whether it's the Texans or the Colts, I think one of these rookie quarterbacks, one of these younger teams steps up here. My money's on the Colts here. Scott, over to you before we give it to Will to round us out here.
Sure.
Where are you going with your best remaining value bet that the viewers should get down on here early?
And the AFC South, also a division I'm not touching the odds who's going to actually win it. So Seth might disagree with this one after some recent talk, but I'm going with the Cardinals to win the NFC West. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
That's a joke.
No.
I'll leave the show right now.
Yeah.
We're done.
I'm going with Lamar Jackson MVP plus 1,500.
I love that.
That's the one I'm going with. Like I said, I am making the leap of faith that not that the new offensive coordinator is just going to fix everything and they're going to steamroll through the league. But I think it's going to be better. I think it's going to be more balanced. I think with Andrews, they brought in Zay Flowers. I think Rashad Bateman was starting to show some very good things before he got hurt last year. J.K. Dobbins farther removed from his injury. I think that Lamar Jackson is going to revert. He's going to be like Lamar Jackson from a few years ago. He has already won an MVP. He's shown he's capable of it. So I think we see the return of Lamar Jackson this year. And I think with these odds, with this price, I'm willing to take a bet on him.
Can we at least see the return of some decent hair from Lamar Jackson? Dude's the face of a franchise, just got paid millions of dollars, can't afford a damn decent haircut.
Oh,
No,
I'm not criticizing anybody's haircuts.
I'm just saying. I shouldn't be talking either. But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. I think I'm just one of those people who's going to continue to fade Lamar Jackson this year. I think if it like,
Fair enough.
and I'm probably going to look dumb as hell in 6 months here because Will, you
He
seem to like.
He fell to 1 point. He fell to the 9th pick in a super flex startup. I was all over that.
Yeah.
All over that all week, twice on Sundays.
Yeah. Will, how do you feel about the Ravens here and this bet? Hard for me to get around to Lamar, but everything Scott's saying is true. The offensive weapons are stellar compared to what they were a year ago. We always know the ACL 1 year removed from it. It is going to be a lot better as well. So, signs are pointing up for J.K. Dobbins and this whole Ravens offense, really.
I think Lamar's finally going to get to show his prowess as a passer in this new offense without Greg Roman. Obviously, the weapons are great. I think the stage is set for him to win another MVP. He just has to stay healthy, has to play well, because he can put up those freakish numbers that only Fields, Hurts, and maybe a few other guys can put up in terms of both passing and rushing production. So I love it. I think plus 1,500 is a good price. Plus Lamar is just easily like one of my favorite guys to root for.
Me too.
Like he just seems like such an awesome human being. And so you hit both sides of the bet. It's a great bet from a monetary standpoint, and it's a fun bet to root for. So I love it.
All right. Well, Will we love your last bet of the night here. What do we have here? Your best remaining value in all these different types of market. Where are you heading?
Yeah. So I'm not usually the kind of guy to hype things up too much. But this was worth hyping up. So this is plus 30,000. Exact Super Bowl result.
Oh, wow.
Cincinnati over Atlanta.
What?
The Bengals to beat the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl. Take it to the bank. Bet $10 to win 3,000 all day.
You like, okay, let's dive in here. What's the appeal of Atlanta? Is it just this? I mean, they have completely rebuilt this defense. They started in the trenches. They get paid big money for the offensive line. We already talked about Bijan. We know the weapons are there. Is that what you're liking here?
I do. I love the offensive line too. Like, I think this is one of the best offensive line units in the league. I think PFF rated them 5th at the end of last season. The weapons are amazing. Obviously, the quarterback is a huge question mark, but that's why this is plus 30,000. You know what I mean? Like the Bengals, I toyed around with something even stupider just for the sake of throwing out something stupid. I actually had Atlanta over Tennessee, which was, and then I thought, no, that's just dumb. Look, obviously the odds are such for a reason. I legitimately think this is a possibility. And I think it's great value because I think people are going to start, like you were saying, Scott, like I think people are going to come around to Atlanta. It's a good football team. They, outside of quarterback, which is a huge question mark, this is a really fucking good football team. The Bengals, obviously, we know they're super legit. Like, none of us would be shocked to see the Bengals there. All of us would be shocked to see the Falcons there. But I think it's in the realm of possibilities. Like, I don't think it's that crazy. Obviously, this is a de facto parlay where you have to get 2 conference winners here. And then also you have to pick the winner. But if for some strange reason this happens to happen and both the Falcons and the Bengals win their conferences, you are going to have the hedging opportunity of a lifetime because you can just bet the hell out of the Atlanta Falcons to win that game because we have Cincinnati over Atlanta in the Super Bowl. So obviously it's crazy. But I like the value. Like, I think it's really insane value. If you can go when you're at Starbucks tomorrow, instead of going for the large, get the medium, use that extra $1 to put $1 on this bet. And you could essentially turn that $1 into a new Nintendo Switch. Thanks to me. So you're welcome.
There we go. I like it, Will. I honestly did not think this podcast would come to an Atlanta Falcons to be in the Super Bowl bet, but here we are, and I'm excited to be here. Will, we can't thank you enough, man, for coming in, sharing your analysis and your good vibes with us, man. Tell us one more time how we can best support you and the Better Fantasy team, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, dude, Seth, incredible to be here. Scott, awesome to hang out with you too, man.
Yeah, man.
That's a good question. Number one way to support us. Hit me up on Twitter at Will Tighe FF. We're looking for beta testers. We're looking to talk to fantasy players at a really in-depth level. Like, I love to just have like 30-minute conversations with our users and with people in the fantasy community, just learn what we love about fantasy, what makes us tick. And so if you want to sort of help us with that on a pretty in-depth level, hit me up on Twitter at Will Tighe FF, and we can kind of chat through some of that stuff.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you. For me and Scott, guys, you know the drill. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Come back and hang out with us again. Make sure you guys are supporting Will. Check out the Better Fantasy app as well. Highly recommended. Kyle, thanks for your efforts in the back end. Thank you, IBT family. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be back next Tuesday. Until then, you know what to do. Keep it in between.